Hello, and welcome to a demo of the Catalyst platform. Now, we already had a demo of this platform that we built for actually users of the platform, but we wanted to do a demo for a specific audience, and that's you, either operational or human resources leaders who want to understand what people are actually getting out of this demo, how they're going to interact with it, and what that means for the bigger challenges that we're trying to meet for the organization by bringing a tool like Catalyst in. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through that demo briefly, but I just want to set the stage a little bit. When we're talking about our issues that we're trying to address as organizations, one of those really big issues is how our people work with one another. How do we create those work relationships that really work? How do we create a way for people not to have that friction because we have a little bit different perspectives, a little bit different way of working with the world? How do we make sure that we can really capitalize on the greatest strengths that we each bring to the workplace and make sure that our conversations, our communication, and our ability to handle difficult conversations actually works? How do we make sure that that happens on an ongoing basis? Now, we all try to deal with these things all the time, and many of us have used some of these tools in the past. So many of you are familiar with the DISC model, and we'll be using that here in the Catalyst platform. But we've changed things a little bit. We've helped make that tool more than what it was in the past. And I'm going to take you right away into this demo now so that we can talk about a little bit of what's different here. And the first thing that I want to share is in the demo or in the Catalyst platform, you can actually still download that traditional report that we have used in the past. The way we've tried to address these issues in the past has been through workshops with a physical report. And that's really good. It helps people get an understanding of the fact that there are different styles. And it's not that I have the right style and others are wrong, but that each of the styles brings value to the conversation. As much as that helped and moved behavior, it didn't always move behavior as much as we would have liked to have seen that behavior move. And it tended to have a little bit of an impact for a short time. And then for many people, that impact tended to recede over time. Now, part of that is the essence of having a workshop and a physical report. And then that report goes up on the shelf and I forget about some of those lessons, or I remember just the generalities of it. So although that report's available and it's got all the information that DISC has always had available to us, we want to actually talk about the platform itself, because the platform is going to go a lot deeper into what we can do. And it's a big part of the change that we can make to be more effective going forward. So I'm going to switch over to the platform itself now. And we're going to use Mateo's account. Mateo is, this is a sample account actually set up, and Mateo has an SC style. So if you think about what you've seen in the workshop, everything that's in the workshop is actually now available in Mateo on an ongoing basis, but in a much more interactive manner. So here are our two big differences with Catalyst. Catalyst is an ongoing system. Think of an ongoing place I can go to continue my learning kind of over time. The other aspect is even the workshop side of things have changed from a Catalyst perspective. So if I'm doing workshops with people in Catalyst, those workshops are structured in little bite-sized elements. They're structured to be more team meetings than half a day or a day kind of session. So they're set up for learning over time. And we know that adults learn better in that way, rather than I try to shove everything in that I can in over a 4-hour period and hope they remember it all. So let's take a look at what your people are going through in Catalyst and how that's going to really impact that problem of long-term culture change for our organizations. So from Mateo's perspective, this is his opening page here. I can actually go in and learn a little bit more about my style. I see where my style is right up front. I can take a look and get much deeper into that. We know that the essence of building our emotional intelligence starts with actually understanding ourselves and even our own style, how we interact with the world. So I can go into my style. I can learn more about what that style actually means. I can learn about the DISC model overall. I can take a look at where I fall on that circumplex map, and then I can actually read the story about myself. What does the assessment actually tell me about how I interact with the world? What are the things that are easy for me? What are the things that might take more energy? So Mateo might read through this, might get some insight into a few things, and we're going to focus on those two key things we always want to remember when we're talking with people and style and how we interact. One is that all styles are valuable. We're each a blend of all four styles. We just tend to have a place that is kind of our comfort zone. It's the easiest place for us to interact from. It's the place we're most likely going to come from. Okay? Also, that work style is only one way of looking at the differences we have as individuals. So it's going to get into that as well. Okay? And Mateo might even take a look at a style podcast. In his case, a little bit over an hour about his specific style. What are some of the things that drive him? What are some of the things that are a challenge for him? How does he move forward as time goes on? So if we start with self-awareness, the next piece we want to go to is a little bit deeper into that and to understand what actually drives Mateo. So I could click on that aspect of it and I can take a look again, deepening my self-awareness to understand what are the things that are really priorities for Mateo, to read about those, to see what actually drives his actions. What are the things that are important to him? In the case of Mateo, there are 3 that are around his style, but also one that's actually atypical of his style. Again, this is measured because we've got a very complex test that's actually doing all of this. We're actually able to measure those priorities differently. So he could read through each of those things that drive him. He could read through what are the things that actually motivate him and work, what are the stressors. Many of these he's probably familiar with, but it's kind of that support of, yeah, this does take more work for me. This is more difficult for me. It's not that it's wrong. That's just who I am. And that's we need to be able to accept ourselves so that we can operate from that area. One of the key things that really comes out of here is it's also going to give you strategies. These strategies are specifically for Mateo. What are 3 things that might help Mateo be more successful as he goes forward? These strategies are part of that knowing my own style and now being able to choose actions to really make those wise conversations, those wise decisions to help me move forward in my career. And there are 3 of these strategies for everybody who takes place in Catalyst. Now, we do know that building our emotional intelligence is partly about getting to know ourselves better and being better able to manage our own emotions and the decisions we make out of that. But it's also about understanding others and understanding what happens with other people because we are all so very different. So the next thing Mateo might want to do is he might want to take a look at you and other styles. And it could be, think about this outside of a workshop, this could be that Mateo is going to actually go and have an important meeting with somebody that he hasn't worked with before. But he can think about it, and that somebody is actually somebody who is very outgoing, and they seem to be talkative. They share a lot, and sometimes they've made Mateo uncomfortable in the past because they're just kind of so out there. And then take a look at Mateo and goes, you know what? I think that person is actually this I style. Let me learn a little bit more about that style and better be able to understand it. You can get a description of the I style. Here's how people in the I style might seem to Mateo. Okay. What motivates the people in the I style, and these motivations may be very different from Mateo, or it could be somebody who actually has some of the same motivations with Mateo. And a little bit of a description about what that looks like to people who have that style. These quick little video clips are a wonderful way for Mateo to kind of say, oh, yeah, no, I got that right. That is an I style. They do sound like this. These are the kinds of things I could hear from that person. Okay. So in this case, we are working through this in terms of the generalities of each of the styles, and each of those styles are available to us all, how we might interact with that style. It's also going to get to where we can be much more fine-tuned for anybody in our own organization who has taken Catalyst as well, because all of those people become available to me, not at the generality, but at the specific of who they are and how the 2 of us might interact better. We'll get into this in just a few moments. So say I do know that this person is an I style and I want to dive a little bit deeper. I want to take just a little bit more of a look here. I can actually dig in and say, you know what, I do want to take a look at this. If I'm going to meet with that I style person, what do I need to be thinking of? How can I better communicate with them and be more effective in that communication? What do I do when we need to solve problems? How can I work together so that we can actually be as effective as possible working? And then if things get tense, what are some things we need to be aware of? And how do I need to make sure that I'm working in a way that we can both be successful going through that? So for any of the styles, I can kind of follow that path through to how do I actually work with that person. Really impactful stuff for people that I haven't worked with before, or even people that I may have worked with for a long time, that things haven't always worked perfectly. So how can I understand this? If I have a meeting that goes off the rails, maybe I come back and I take a look and I realize, you know what, here was their need that I never spoke to. This is why things got a little bit more tense. Right? So we're creating that ongoing opportunity to plan for conversations, as well as to figure out what happened after a conversation if we didn't do that planning up front. Okay. So at the bottom of this, I want to go into one more really important aspect. And for me, this is really the thing that changes the game for us on an ongoing basis. DISC has always been about how do we communicate better with one another? How do we share? How do we make sure that our communications can be effective, even though we may come at things with a little bit different perspective, a little bit different style? In Catalyst, everyone in your organization who has taken Catalyst becomes available through your colleagues. So if I'm Mateo and I'm going to be meeting with Stephanie Choi, I can actually say, okay, so there's Stephanie and she's taken the assessment and she's a D. She's straight up D. And I can take a look and I can say, okay, quick. I know she's going to be candid, quick-witted, challenges the status quo, determined critical thinker. Okay, wonderful. At a high level, I know that, but I can get into the details here. And the details here for every one of my colleagues that now become available for me are, for me dealing with Stephanie, what are some things we need to be thinking about? How can we work better together? Stephanie also has this available for working with Mateo on her side. Okay. So it tells me a little bit about what Stephanie cares about. What are some of the things that might cause stress for her? Right? When are things that Stephanie really loves to be engaged in? What's the stuff that really gives her energy? Okay. I take a look at our two maps together, and I can take a look at what we have that's both similar and different, right? Similarities to build off of, differences that actually create opportunities for us if I can be aware of them and I can actually understand and honor those differences. Because Stephanie brings stuff to the table that Mateo doesn't. And the same going the other way from a style perspective. So how can we meld those things to be as effective as possible going forward? It's also going to help us compare to one another across multiple different continua of behavioral characteristics. So in the first case here, from accommodating to strong-willed, Mateo probably wants to take a look and go, okay, she's going to be very strong-willed. So I'm going to have to make sure that I do actually stand my ground, or I'm not going to get my points across, right? It's not that she has to change or I have to change, but I need to be aware of that so that I can adapt my approach a little bit so that we can be more successful going forward. At the same time, I can also take a look at the fact that Stephanie is more frank than I am. So it's very possible that she may say things. I need to make sure I don't take those things personally. She's going to bring out things that might make me uncomfortable and that I might not say myself. It's not right or wrong. We have different styles. We need to be able to appreciate those styles, understand those styles, and really actually honor those differences as we move forward. At the bottom of all those scales, it actually gives several different scenarios: under tension, connecting with one another, collaboration, and buy-in with what might be best and easiest for us. What are some things that could be roadblocks to our conversation, as well as tips on how we can make sure that we can be successful in any one of those four areas. Having this available for everybody in the workforce is a huge plus. Here's what we're seeing, and I can report this now because we are getting the data out of the system. We have found that people are actually going back and utilizing Catalyst, not just at workshops, but outside of workshops, to gain a better understanding of the people they work with and how to work better with them going forward. So we are seeing that ongoing learning where we can actually move from having an awareness of style, or maybe even an understanding of the general styles, to where we're actually experimenting with this, learning with this, and building our emotional intelligence over time. Catalyst provides a way of using some common ideas, but in a very new way that can really deliver some great results to us going forward. This has been a really quick little demo for you to take a look at a little bit of what your people are going through. But here's the way we're thinking about Catalyst and how we see it and how we also see it already working in organizations. Catalyst and DISC have moved from being the workshop I go to how I think about my interactions with other people in the organization. It's an ongoing way for us to develop that strength and ability to build our relationships, to build work relationships that really work, to actually create a healthier workplace, as well as better results by clearing up the communication discord that happens because of different styles. When we can move past people should be like me to people should be like them, and I can actually understand, appreciate, and actually honor those differences, because it's the bringing together of those differences, the melding of all of the great ideas and perspectives that we have in the workforce that enables us to get the best results going forward. It's what we've always wanted, but now we have the tools to actually make that happen and to move it from being something that we have to be responsible for to something that we take our part in, but everybody now has the tools to make happen for themselves. We are democratizing our ability to learn, to grow, and to communicate better. We're really excited about this. I hope you are too. Please feel free to reach out if you've got questions. We're just so jazzed about being able to actually have the impact we know this can have for us going forward. Thank you.